Hi there, this is Miss Caitlin from Vivo Kids Art Academy, and today we are going to do the last project in our cartoon camp series. Today we're going to be doing cartoon places, so we're going to draw SpongeBob's pineapple. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here is the project that we are making today. As you can see, it's SpongeBob's pineapple. Now, here's what you're going to need to make the project. You're going to need a practice paper, so this can be any kind of paper, a sketch paper, just anything you want to practice on. You're also going to need a final paper. So ideally, that's going to be a piece of Bristol paper, any kind of thick paper, or even a watercolor paper. I'm going to be using watercolors and markers for my project, but you can use whatever you have available to you. Now you're also going to need a pencil, eraser, and a Sharpie. So go ahead, pause the video, grab those things, and then let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to set my project aside here, and I'm going to go ahead and take out my practice piece of paper. You're going to want your paper to be tall like a milkshake, so vertical up and down. Now you should be using a pencil for this part, as well as your eraser on your practice paper, but I'm going to be using a Sharpie, just so that you can really see the lines, because pencil doesn't show up well on the camera. Okay, so the thing about cartoon places is that they really can be super duper simple. Usually they're, just one shape, or they're usually made out of different things. So like you wouldn't normally imagine a house to be made out of a pineapple. So if you wanted to make a house out of a pineapple, or really to make it like a mango, or even something else, think of a shape that you could do. Now for a pineapple like SpongeBob's house, we're gonna start with a big rainbow line. Now to do this, I'm gonna start just about here on my paper, and I'm gonna draw a really, really big rainbow line all the way around. You can also see it's kind of tall. Next, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw a U shape to connect. Then I'm going to go ahead and draw the top part of the pineapple. So those are the big leaves. They're very spiky. To do this, I'm going to head towards the top. I'm going to start right about here and draw a curved line up and a curved line down to make one leaf. To make these side leaves, they actually are a really interesting shape. You're going to start from right here where we ended our leaf before. You're going to draw a curved line out like this on either side. And then you're gonna again draw it back in towards the first leaf. So you kind of get like these sideways facing leaves. Now these last ones on the side, again, they are basically this same shape, they're just longer. We're actually gonna start just about here. You're gonna draw a curved line out and up. Draw another curved line back in, and do the same thing on the other side. Again, if you need to pause the video at any point so that you can get those shapes, please feel free to do so. And then we want this to look a little bit more full, so I'm going to draw these curved V or upside down V shapes in between those leaves there. That again just helps it look a little bit more full, like the top of a pineapple. All right, next we can go ahead and begin to add some details onto our SpongeBob's house. Now, if you're deciding to do a house made out of a different fruit or just make it out of something else, you can think about other things you would want to add. For SpongeBob's house, he has a door right here. It kind of looks like a door on a boat. So you're gonna start from the bottom of the pineapple. You're gonna draw another rainbow line up, around, and down. You're gonna do the same thing to kind of make this border along the door. And then you're going to draw a circle in the center. This is for that wheel that opens his house. Draw another little circle on the inside. Then you're going to draw little tiny rainbows around the edges for those handles. So you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's the door. Next, let's go ahead and add the windows. For his windows, they're just circles. So you're gonna go ahead and add one here. Then he has another window down here. We want them to look more like the windows on his house, so you're gonna draw another circle on the inside of both of them. Now that looks good, but let's take it a step further. We want them to look a little bit more three-dimensional. So go to this window here. On the inside, draw a curved line like this. Kind of make it look like a moon shape. Now go to your outer circle along this edge. Draw another curved line and make that look like a moon shape. Now that window looks a little three-dimensional. Let's try the same over here. So go to this edge on the inner part of your window. Draw a curved line to make it look like a moon. Now go to your outer window. Start maybe about here. Draw another curved line. Now they look more 3D. SpongeBob's house also has like a little chimney that's coming off the side here. So we're gonna draw that in. Now start about here and you're gonna draw a little C and draw two lines coming out from it. So two horizontal lines. Next, I want you to draw a big C. Then draw two more lines going out. Next, I want you to start here, curve around, and draw a straight line up. Then go to this line, draw a straight line up, connect with a rainbow or a curve. All you have to do now is draw two diagonal lines and connect with another curved line, and you have his chimney. Now obviously, as you can see here, there's this line that we don't need. It's going through the chimney from the pineapple, so you can go ahead and erase that. And that's the practice drawing. Of course, we need to add all the details for the pineapple. We're actually going to do that in the coloring step today, but this is all the drawing portion that we need for the practice. So go ahead and take this piece of paper and set it aside, and we are going to do our final drawing. So for your final draw, this is where you want to take out your nice piece of paper that you want to do all the coloring and fancy work on. Again, it should be vertical, up and down. Let's begin. So I'm going to go a little bit faster through the drawing steps we just did because we already did them. And I'll tell you what stuff we're going to add into the final. So for the house, I'm again going to draw that large rainbow shape, up, down, and around. Connect with a U shape on the bottom to make it look more round. Then I'll go ahead and do the leaves on the top. Curved line up, curved line down, curved line out, and a curved line out. Do the same thing back in towards the base of that leaf. And as well, make those leaves that are coming out from the sides. Don't forget, you want that to look a little bit more full, so you need to add leaves between those two there. Next, we're going to go ahead and add in the door. Again, that's that rainbow shape. Don't forget to do the inside part. Then add the handle for the door. That wheel. Using those little U shapes all the way around. Let's go ahead and add in our windows. Doing the circles on the inside, and then adding those curved lines here and here, here and here to make them look more 3D. After that, it is time to draw that chimney again. Going to the upper part of the pineapple, drawing a little C shape, two horizontal lines out, big C, two more horizontal lines out, have the bottom one curve up, draw another straight line, connect with a curve, and then two more diagonal lines, connect with a curve. And you can erase that part that's going through the chimney. Now, of course, pause if you need to get to this part, but now you get to add just a couple of extra details. Now, we want these to look more like they do in the cartoon, which means they have these little kind of like screws or parts of the door that are kind of just a small detail. I'll show you what I mean. I'm just going to go along this door frame and add a couple of these circles all the way around. And you can do the same thing on the windows. I'm actually only going to add 4 on the windows, just so that it's easier. And with that, that is all the steps for the final draw, because the rest we will do in color. So again, finish up anything you want to add, any extra business you want to do. If you want to add SpongeBob off on the side or Gary maybe over here, go for it, but pause the video and then resume once you are ready to continue on to the first coloring step. All right, for your first coloring step, you are going to outline all of your pencil lines in Sharpie or a permanent marker of some kind. Now I'm going to show you what this looks like with that line erased through the chimney. Here you go. So again, pause the video and just take a minute or two to outline all of your pencil lines. If you've added something extra like Gary or SpongeBob, outline those things too. All right, now once you're done outlining all that stuff, we are going to go ahead and begin on our coloring. Now the first thing I actually want us to do is we are going to fill in our pineapple with watercolor first. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. We're going to make, in fact, a little gradient inside the pineapple. Now I have my water bucket off to the side here just so that it's out of the way. And then as well, I have my watercolor palette. Now normally I would start us off with the background, but I'm actually going to do the background in marker, which means I can do that while I'm waiting for the watercolor parts to dry. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a medium brush. It's a large area, but I want the medium brush for this. Now SpongeBob's pineapple, if we remember from my example, and even if you look at the cartoon, it's kind of got this orangey color to it. Now you can see with the watercolor I've done underneath here that there is some yellow here and there's orange and even kind of almost fades to red on the sides. And I purposely left kind of like these highlighted areas. I'll show you how to do that, but first let's focus on getting it a color. So let's begin with our lightest color first, which is going to be the yellow. If you don't have watercolors, you could also try to do this in marker or some other kind of material, or you can just fill in the pineapple orange if you want to. So with this yellow color, what you're going to do is you're going to take it and you're going to fill in the center of the pineapple with the yellow, which is really only this part right here. You can kind of spread it out if you want to. I kind of want it to be very opaque, so very much yellow. Now, you want to do this part quickly, but now you're going to take an orange of your choosing. I'm going to actually use this yellow orange. It's a light orange. And I'm going to paint next to the yellow on both sides. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush and kind of pet the area where the yellow and the orange meet, to sort of blend them together. For this, you need to have a very gentle hand. You don't want to be pressing hard into your paper to blend watercolor. It might make your paper tear. So now that that part is blended, I'm going to go ahead and take my yellow orange and fill in the rest of the pineapple. I am being careful to go around the edges of like the chimney here as well as the windows. You don't need to rush through this as well. If you need to pause the video, just take your time to get through these parts. Don't hesitate to do so. But I'm going to go a little bit fast just so that you don't have to watch me paint for, an hour. All right, as I get towards the bottom, again, I might notice I'm running out of paint on my brush. I'm going to re-dip back into the watercolor palette and make sure that the color that I'm getting is what I want. Again, the color is still see-through, but it's pretty dark. That means I'm just going to have to add a little bit more. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take that yellow-orange again and fill in the rest of this side. Now, if this is not dark enough for you, We can go in with a regular orange as well. I'm still filling in all these parts. I'm not adding any highlights or shadows just yet. So I'm making sure I get right up next to these edges. Okay. Now again, if you feel that you want a little bit more color, a little bit more depth, I would take maybe a regular orange, so color like this, and you could add that to the right and left side of your pineapple. Of course, be very gentle if you've already added a light orange onto that part because you don't want to accidentally tear your paper. But if that's something that would interest you into making your pineapple just seem a little bit more interesting, a little bit more three-dimensional, go for it. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the left side. So you can see there's a really good color transition there, or change of color, which even with cartoons that use flat color, very important. Just what is interesting about cartoons like Spongebob as well is that in their backgrounds, they're very detailed actually. Like Spongebob's pineapple, even Patrick's rock and Squidward's house, which is a head, are actually quite detailed and very textured for a cartoon. You can see I'm taking my brush now, which is pretty dry, and I'm just doing a couple of strokes, adding a little bit of that brush texture into those areas, which you can feel free to try as well. All right, so there we have it. That's the pineapple. I'm going to go ahead and really clean off my brush, and I'm going to go ahead and paint the leaves. I'm going to do a sort of a yellow-green for the leaves to start with, and if that's too light, which it is, I'm going to do a regular green. You can feel free to use the yellow-green if you'd like, if that is your cup of tea. If you like the lighter color, vibrancy of it, go for it. For me, I like this very true deep green. But both will look good in this picture. Just being very careful, I'm filling in the leaves. Again, I'm using the very top of my brush, like this, to get into those edges so I don't accidentally go outside my lines. I'm being sure to spread out any little puddles I have. There we go. All right, next side. Over here. There we go. Now, if you want to know a little secret for watercolor, if you want green to look more vibrant, even after you just put it down, you can take yellow paint. Make sure your brush is clean, of course, and you can paint the yellow paint on top of it. This works best when the green paint is already dry, but you get the idea. All right, that's all colored in. Let's go ahead and finish it up, and we are going to go ahead and fill in the windows, the door, as well as the chimney. Now, you might think that this is actually a gray color, so we would want to use black, but it's actually a light blue. Now, I would recommend using a sky blue for this. I'm going to use this one. I want to make sure that this color is very, 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 very light. I'm going to fill in the door and the windows with this blue. Now what is going to happen is that it's going to look like and give it the appearance that it's gray, like a boat, right? Because it's this really light blue color against these oranges and yellows and greens, but actually it's blue. All right, so there's the door. Let's go ahead and do the window. If you accidentally get too much water on your brush, just wipe it off on your water bucket or your water cup. Then you can go back in and paint. Again, forget the other window, and of course the chimney is next. Again, you can see and be very careful as we get around these edges. Alrighty, so now that we have this base layer of watercolor basically done, we're going to work on our background, which is going to be done in marker. Now we're going to kind of do a little bit of back and forth between our watercolor and our markers for just a second here. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. All right. What I want you to do now is go ahead and set your watercolors aside. I'm going to put my brush back, I'm going to move my palette, and I'm going to go ahead and take out my markers. So I have my markers here, and I'm actually going to choose, again, yellow, because I want all of the backgrounds for my project to kind of look the same. Now, I want to make sure that there's actually a ground for SpongeBob's house to sit on, so I'm going to take my yellow marker, or whatever marker I would be using for my background. I'm just going to draw two curved lines with the marker itself on the sides here. If you want, you could even move that line up